I don't know why, but I have a feeling something in me feels weird and is making me all conspiratorial. And I have never had a stream go from growing to dead like that without a technical glitch. That was something weird. That was, I think YouTube has flipped some kind of switch. Maybe they did it while I was streaming, dude. That'd be wild if they did. Oh, maybe they did, dude. It just hit fucking 12 a.m. Dude, I think YouTube has made a fucking change. YouTube has made some kind of change, and they are now scraping lives for anything not meeting the community guidelines, and they're looking to age restrict shit. I bet you that stream of mine that was like 20 minutes long that I just got done with, I bet you that gets age restricted. Well, I guess I'm going to have to be a lot more careful about the kind of stuff that I do on here, which is really fucking stupid because I don't do anything that wouldn't be, you know, like, frankly, it's shit that kids see in movies all fucking day long, you know. If their parent watches Pineapple Express around them, they're going to see a motherfucker hitting some pot, but whatever. Whatever, YouTube. I'm just glad the fire is finally picking up. Now, I wonder if this train is going to pass or if it's just going to side out. I look like Obama? How? I like trains, sorry. Yeah, this is side out. Dude, how the fuck, what is the luck, right? What is the luck? I start a new stream, I get a train. Yeah, probably a crew change or a side out. Anyway, what's up, everybody? Make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button, it's a chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of viewer viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who can engage in the chat. It really does help. Please hit that like button if you can. Why is a man wearing a dress? It's not a dress, number one, and I'm not a man, number two. There's your answer. If anybody else would like to make absolutely sure that their comment or question gets answered, that one was free. But I read every single super chat as long as it doesn't violate TOS. So consider that an option by which you can have your voice be added to the conversation. Welcome back, Crypto. I thought you said nobody cared, Crypto. I thought you said nobody cared. Why are you back, Crypto? I thought you said nobody cared. I bet you're subscribed, aren't you? How much you want to bet? If I turn subscribers only mode on right now, Crypto would still be chatting. How are you not afraid of being alone? Fear has never served me, my friend. There are a lot of emotions in my life that I've felt. Some have served me, some have not. Fear is not among the ones that have served me, ever, ever, ever. Fear does nothing for you. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings the great grief, or whatever it is. I don't remember what the mantra is, but there's this thing from Frank Herbert's Dune. I forget what it's called, but that thing, yeah. Keep yelling about it, Crypto. Dude, keep on screaming about it. Watch as more and more people come to watch this, what is, like, you're just calling me a man. I feel like that's not creative enough. You're not nearly creative enough. See, that's the problem with trolls. I let trolls exist here. I don't ban them just for being retarded. But some of you guys are literally so retarded that it's actually legitimately difficult to make any hay with any of the fucking things that you say. Supposed to be an engineer, see? No, dude. No way. No way. No fucking way. No way, no how. No, I looked into it when I was younger, and I just, like, I looked into the reviews from it and everything. Not the reviews, but, like, people talking about it as a job. And the general consensus I got is that if you're really passionate about the railroads, or if you just, like, really need a decent job, something like that, it's good, but you're gonna have complaints. You know, don't think merely because you get a job with the railroads that you're stepping away forever from frustration with work. It's like, the general consensus I got is that they're well paid, but a lot is asked of them too. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. I want to pimp it early on in the stream, because the earlier you do it, the better it is for everybody. So hit that like button. Every single time you hit that like button, is a chance to the stream out to even more people, which increase the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who engage in the chat. It really does help the channel. Please do that right now if you haven't already. Double tap your screen or hit the like button if you've still got one. I'm still confused. Are you not a man? No. How many times do I have to say that? Literally. Why the fuck do people like you just arguing? Literally. That's why. You just spelled it out. You literally just spelled it out. What's your cup size? Why? Why? Why on earth do people ask such impertinent fucking questions of trans people? But it's a C. I get on my dad's nerves, but not for that reason. Not because I'm trans, but because I think me and him have some kind of, like, similar habit. Maybe not habits, but we have some, like, similar tendencies, maybe. Like, we both spent a big chunk of our youth traveling and living all over the country and everything. We're both very kind of, like, hopeless, romantic kind of people. We're both very stubborn and set in our ways and think we're right about everything, you know? So we butt heads, but not about me being trans. I bet you queef fairy dust? 100%. Yes, actually true. Rip Charlie Kirk? Man, I can't agree. I mean, I guess I can, kind of. Like, I think it's sucky the way he went out, number one. I think it's also a tragedy for free speech in America. Not least of all because it's inspired a whole bunch of right-wing redneck motherfuckers to start threatening leftists with violence merely for being leftist. My take on the whole Charlie Kirk thing is that Charlie Kirk was a backwards, bigoted moron who did not deserve to be shot dead like a dog on the street. Who did not, I will repeat, did not deserve to be shot dead like a dog on the street, merely because of the things that he says. Regardless of what position the fucking shooter was coming from, that is not how work is done on the left. I can assure you that the broad fucking consensus among the left is fucking pacifistic. Most of us advocate for peaceful, non-violent resistance. Those of us who do advocate for violent resistance certainly don't advocate for political assassinations. You know why? Because they don't fucking work. They have the opposite intended effect. And my favorite example to bring up of this lately has been Martin Luther King Jr., who was killed by James Earl Ray, who, whether you think he was a patsy or not, he legitimately thought he was killing MLK Jr. because it was going to silence the civil rights movement and have a chilling effect on their rhetoric and speech. What it did, in fact, was quite the opposite. His white supremacist ass killed MLK Jr., and it ended up being the impetus that President Johnson needed to get the Fair Housing Act passed through Congress. So in hoping to silence the civil rights movement, he helped achieve one of its greatest gains, essentially. Fiona, I'll take that as a compliment, dude. Fiona's hot in both forms. I don't give a fuck. Fiona's hot in both fucking forms. While I don't share the Rip Kirk sentiment, I'm also not going to ban you guys out of the chat or anything, because I do understand, you know. I'm sure there are a lot of people, but here's something that bothers me, though. Here's something that bothers me, okay? And maybe there are even some people on the right wing that'll agree with this. Maybe there are some actual fucking Charlie Kirk fans that'll agree with this take. I think it's a pretty amenable take if you're a fan of his, okay? Here's the take. A lot of motherfuckers are talking about Charlie Kirk like they knew him and liked his content that literally had not heard the fucking name Charlie Kirk before Wednesday. There are a whole lot of motherfuckers claiming, on the right wing right now, claiming to be all abridged to that motherfucker on what he was doing that ain't. That weren't. Tom McDonald, fucking great example. That dude literally wrote a rap about Charlie in like fucking 12 hours because he's a writing fucking machine, to his credit, and had it pumped out, literally never mentioned him on his Twitter one time before Wednesday. Never. Hard left. Hard left. So far left, I hate the Democrats too. That's what I like to say. That's actually a really good tagline. I should start using that more. Yeah, no, I'm on the left, but I'm so fucking left that I hate the Democrats too, so. They want us focused on left versus right. To some degree, I agree with that, but the real fucking struggle, in my opinion, is the class war. No war but the class war, but getting people to understand that is a left versus right conversation. Because most people on the far right, or even the regular right, are not going to agree with the concept of billionaires ultimately being the problem, even though most of us can recognize that they definitely 100% are. Yeah, no, I have a lot of centrists that watch, Charlie. Yeah, I've got a lot of centrists that watch. I don't know. A part of me is a little bit alarmed by that, because it kind of makes me feel like I might be a little bit of a centrist, but I really don't feel like I am. I feel like I've just got pretty reasonable takes for a person living in 2025, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am some kind of wild centrist and I don't even know it. Holy shit, I think they shut the engine down. They did. They did shut the engine down. Oh! They might be doing some maintenance or some such. That's cool. I hope they don't mind me talking about them in absentia, you know? Those are people up there. Man, this is such a weird experience. Oh boy. I have to assume, though, that I'm by far not the weirdest fuck these railroaders have seen, probably. Oh, what did I do with my lighter? Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Cool. Ah, finally, a Janny. Holy shit. Riley, hear about FCC canceling Jimmy Kimmel for Charlie comments? Wait a minute, that was the FCC? Holy shit. Holy shit. Talk about burying the fucking lead. Okay, Riley, do you have me on Discord or anything? I need the source for that. Not that I don't believe you. I 100% believe you. I know you wouldn't be bullshitting me. Oh, they're about to turn it on again. I don't know what that sound is, but I know it's associated with starting the engine. Whoa. That is wild. That is wild. Chat is going so fast, you're missing my comments. I'm sorry, Charlie. It happens to everybody. It happens to everybody. I don't have Discord, but I can link you stuff. Yeah, you can link me stuff. Yeah, because as long as I know the news organization and the headline, I'll be able to find it later. Or I can look it back in chat later. But either way, that is fucking wild. I read an article on ABC News, I think, or Fox or something like that. But I can't remember what organization it was. But there was I was reading somewhere though, and it seemed to me like it was ABC letting go of Jimmy Kimmel. Now, it doesn't shock me if it was in fact, the FCC stepping in on ABC's behalf, essentially. It's not a big deal at all. Oh wait, no, you were talking about what I was. You were responding to what I was saying. Okay, never mind. Why are you wearing a dress in the woods by yourself as a man? Well, because I'm not a man. Pretty easy to figure out. Hair reveal? Maybe if I can get the fire up and going again. Maybe if I can get the fire up and going again. Hold on. I'll try. I've just got to go. I've got to go over here to get some more sticks. Because all the I've put several big chunks on there, but they're better for long-term burning than they are for light. It's the weird thing about being a fire troll is that you figure out all sorts of weird little things about fire. One of them is that different fuels have different capacity to light things and to provide like an actual light source via a fire. So that's why I'm gathering up some little small sticks to throw in there. I need ones that are small enough to fit comfortably in the palm of my hand and grasp around them, but I need ones that are big enough to provide a nice little boost to the fire. It's a difficult equation, but we managed to thread the needle. Anyway, make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button, it's another chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who engage in the chat, which is ultimately what we're trying to do here. We're trying to have conversations, We're trying to talk to people and find common ground. Or just argue like a couple apes. Whatever happens, Common ground, ape argument, doesn't really matter. It's all the same to me, you see? Subject? Well, I started to talk about it earlier and we didn't really get much of a chance. So, yeah, Jimmy Kimmel got ousted from ABC after, I guess, FCC complaints. I'm getting fucking scattered reports, but I'm going to trust what my mod said. My mod says it was the FCC. They posted a link, which I'm going to peruse later. So the FCC apparently took issue with Jimmy Fallon's comments on, or not Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel. God damn it, I'm gonna get that fucking wrong all night. Too many Jimmys in show business. Anyway, what that really means though, and this is what's gonna be interesting, right? Did the FCC receive a bunch of complaints about Jimmy Kimmel, Or did someone at the FCC, like a Trump operative or something, like the fucking director that was set in there after the fucking last director was ousted by him, did that person take personal exception and choose, as a government official, to directly censor a member of the American public? Now, granted, I get the idea that the FCC has basically the right to censor. I get it, the 7 dirty words you can never say on television. I've seen that bit too, okay? But it is still something that the FCC has chosen not to do for a long-ass time. The FCC has chosen not to really enforce much of its codes of conduct for public broadcasting for a long time. It has been a long-ass time since somebody has been removed from the air due to an FCC complaint. It has been a long fucking time. Behind you? Man, you must live your entire life in, like, gripping fear, bro. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button, there's a chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who engage in the chat. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do here, is have something like a conversation. Speaking of which, if you want to make absolutely sure that your question gets read or your comment gets answered, consider sending a super chat. I do read every single one, as long as it doesn't violate TOS. Saying CK was an ass is now the same as being pro-death. I know. It's fucking ridiculous. It's literally ridiculous. And, when this shit happened, that this was like a direct assault on free speech and it was going to lead to more, I was 100% right. That's why I condemned it, is because, like, regardless of how little a loss Charlie Kirk might be personally, the loss to American, the long fucking held American tradition of freedom of speech, the danger to that is very, very fucking real. In fact, it's not just danger anymore. It's actively in contention. Actively in contention right now. Actively in contention. There are all kinds of right-wing groups that are actively trying to, basically actively trying to silence the speech of an entire demographic of Americans, which, depending on which polls you look at, might make up almost a majority of us. The right wing's idea that every single person besides themselves and that one crazy lefty they know is a fucking conservative is based on a complete misapprehension about American politics that is not reflected in reality. Bro, you are so weird, get help! Do you think yelling it at me is going to make it more effective? Do you think it's going to, like, drive the message home further? God, you people are ignorant. Bro, nobody listening to you right now. There's literally 369 people sitting around listening to me right now. Literally. Don't get mad at me just because you can't pull them kind of numbers, friend. Don't get pissed at me just because you're not capable of bringing this many people together to talk about a topic. That's not my problem. I didn't do that to you, okay? I'm not the one who chose not to work on that skill. I'm not the one who chose to live your life in such a way that didn't make it conducive to doing this for a living. But I'm not going to stop because you personally have an issue with it. Let's see, we got a super chat. Thank you so much. You're an amazing person and I love you. Well, that's a bit much, but hey, I appreciate it. Hey, I love you as a human being, I don't know you personally, but I love everybody, more or less. And yes, before you ask, even right-wingers. Despite the fact that I'm a hardcore lefty, the fact that so few people get fucking banned out of here should tell you a lot about how I feel about the human condition and people's right to be wrong. That's how I really feel about it. I feel like no matter how fucking wrong you are, you've got a right to be that wrong. At the very least. I think it's up to me and people who feel like me to make our arguments so well that the American people don't allow themselves to be, dumb fucked into genocide or whatever it is. Why are you in a dress? Once again, do you think yelling it is going to make it better? Like, what is the yelling supposed to do? That's what I don't get. More than anything, that's what I get confused by, is like the yelling, you know? There we go. Sorry, I had to do a little fire trolling for a second. Anyway, hold on. Let me turn on a better chat mode. That way I can read things a little better. Because right now things are going by so quickly that I literally can't catch a single message before it's gone. And I don't want to have to stop the chat every 5 seconds. So there we go. 15-second slow mode. Ooh, I wonder if they're stopping. That sounded like the characteristic jamming of cars together after the brakes are applied, but maybe I'm wrong. Yes, idiot mode. Well, yeah. I think YouTube might have flipped some kind of switch where it's like trying to get people for being too edgy or whatever. I don't really know. But yeah, I wasn't going to call it idiot mode, but yeah, that's what it is, more or less. But yeah, make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, we would have literally like 160 likes, like fucking that. So if you haven't hit it already, please hit that like button. It really does help. I really do appreciate it. And consider sending a super chat if you want to make sure your question gets answered or your comment gets read. I do read every single one, so it's a great way to get your conversation or your input added to the conversation directly, acknowledged by me and everybody else. This dude got issues. Get help. Stop dressing like a woman. How about you stop telling other people how they should and should not live their lives? What qualifies you? What qualifies you? What makes you qualified to tell another human being how they should or should not do a single fucking thing? Ooh, got a couple of different super chats. Let's see here. Gabrielle said, for $5, said, I was trans and Jesus cured me of my gender dysphoria. After Charlie was killed, something just changed and helped me fight my feelings of self-hatred. Man, fucking show me an AstroTurf. Show me a D-trans after the Charlie Kirk assassination and I'll show you a fucking AstroTurf account. Man, they're literally giving the AstroTurf accounts money to spend now. No, if you're actually a real person, that's fucking sad. And you were probably never trans to begin with, honestly, you know? Either that or the increased amount of pressure that's been put on you has given you this kind of like impetus to hide away and to pretend to be something that you're not and to give yourself cover for when the right-wing fascists eventually end up combing the streets. Well, I got news for you. Ernst Röhm still got a firing squad. Into the fray sent. We is Charlie Kirk. Thank you, $4.99 or thank you Into the Fray for the $4.99. I super appreciate it. You know I love having you in here, dude. You fucking know. And look at the fucking chat. It is literally as abysmal as it ever is. And I've got the fucking idiot mode turned on, TJ. Can you believe that shit? I got idiot mode turned on, and this is a Phoebe chat with fucking moron mode enabled. This is a Phoebe chat with moron mode enabled. Damn. Having a train super close can be fucking so inconvenient sometimes. I'm sorry, y'all. I know that's gotta be loud. Oh, damn. Thanks, guys! That was a really fucking polite honk. They just did, they were so good about it. It was like, you know, this person's sitting there. They probably already know that we gotta blow, but we'll blow perfectly so that we're not blowing their fucking ear off. And that was nice of them. That was kind of them. Dude, look how fucking wild shit looks now that I'm in the glim kind of dark light. After all this, dude, YouTube doesn't know what kind of settings to apply to the video now. Man, this shit's weird. It legitimately looks so weird now. Anyway, yeah, no, I'm having a great night for views. No, for sure. Speaking of high views, make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button, there's another chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who can engage in chat. And hopefully, those people will be, you know, a little bit more capable of conversation with successive waves. That's the idea. We are Charlie Kirk. We is Charlie Kirk. His message will not die in vain. You can kill the man, but you can't kill the idea. Oh my God, you bunch of moaning pussies. Can you shut up already? Fuck. I didn't see any Democrats doing this shit. I didn't see any lefties doing this shit when fucking that other lady, I forget her name exactly what she was, but some kind of lawmaker got paralyzed. Can't remember if it was last year or earlier this year because they're kind of running together for me. I didn't see any of the lefties that I know doing this kind of shit, but for some reason the right wing, mind you, champions of unemotionality, champions of rejecting empathy in favor of logic and discourse. You know, these people are the ones saying, we are Charlie Kirk. The same fucking morons who have been telling you that you can't make a single policy decision based on empathy. You can't trust that. Your empathy is going to get people's taxes wasted, all this shit, right? Now, look at all the fucking room in their heart for empathy. Look at all the room in their heart that they had for empathy. Look at it. It was there all along. We just didn't know it, guys. It was locked behind a barrier they call Charlie Kirk. I love Charlie Kirk more than I love my own wife. God, you guys are pathetic. All pavy, in all seriousness, I do have empathy for Kirk's family and the 2,000 people that had to witness that shit and the millions of people who witnessed it online. And I have some empathy for him because I don't think he deserved to be shot dead like a dog on the street for what he believes in. But I also don't believe a bunch of these right-wing fucking pussies. I do not believe them when they act like they care deeply about Charlie Kirk until... Like, dude, I just don't buy it because literally Charlie Kirk was such a I wouldn't say he was a niche figure, but he was like somebody that you would only know about if you were interested in politics. He was not some kind of like giant household name that everybody knew about. But all of a sudden, literally everyone who's ever voted Republican is now acting like Charlie Kirk was a brother of theirs. Fucking Tom McDonald writing a rap in like 12 hours after he's assassinated, acting as if him and Charlie were just like in lockstep on everything, and he just loved him to pieces. And in fact, fucking Tim McDonald literally, or Tom McDonald, whatever the fuck his stupid ass name is, he hasn't fucking mentioned Charlie Kirk not one time on his Twitter in the last 20 years or whatever, how long fucking Twitter's been around and he's had an account. In the last 10, 15 years, in the entire age of his account, never mentioned Charlie Kirk before Wednesday. How about that? So I have empathy, deep empathy, for the people who actually watched him and are now kind of like fucked up and don't really know where to go or who to watch or whatever, who really looked up to him in some kind of way. I have empathy for his children, most of all. I have empathy for the 2,000 people that were watching that shit and for the people who had to watch it online. I have a deep well of empathy in my heart that extends pretty widely and varied. But I don't have empathy for people claiming some shit that they ain't actually got. Like grief for a political figure that they didn't give a fuck about 2 weeks ago. I ain't got no empathy in my heart for that. Be about it or don't be about it. Christ is Lord. Christ is Lord. Okay, I just kind of started to sound like fucking Paul Bearer a little bit there. I don't know that that was the best look, but whatever. Keep mocking God, buddy, and you won't like the end. I take it you're one of the many lost people that believes in hell, then. Sorry if I don't find myself altogether too scared by the threat of eternal damnation. I've not found any actual evidence that that is indeed the fate of a human being who does not confess their love for Christ before they die. I have found no compelling evidence. In fact, I see a lot of evidence to the contrary. I think that if anything happens after we die, it's probably something along the lines of reincarnation. If the simulation theory is true, then it's not just likely, but in fact certain that our data gets reused. Aspects of our personality live on and get redistributed to other people and randomized, maybe even. Who the fuck knows? But I imagine it's way closer to that, or some kind of reincarnation scheme or something like that, than eternal damnation to atone for sins that... Like, what would be the point of that, besides sadism? Like, the reason why societies punish people is to set an example. The reason why a parent punishes a child is so that they'll do better in the future. Eternal damnation is a completely new animal. Eternal damnation is a completely unique animal where you're being told that you're going to be punished, not for the benefit, why am I having such a hard time saying that word? Not for the benefit of society, and not for the benefit of yourself, because you're never going to live on the earth again. You're never going to be a fully remade human or anything like that, but for the benefit of God. That is sadism. That is textbook sadism. Punishment for the sake of being punished. It's not to set an example, because nobody else gets to watch your suffering in hell. It's not to teach you a lesson, because you never get to learn the lesson or live out the results of its teaching. It's all about satisfying God's bloodlust. One of the many reasons why I could never, ever call myself a Christian. Yeah, stop fucking spamming. This is not your fucking platform to write out whatever dumb fuck moron bullshit you've cooked up today and try to get some motherfucker to read it out on live, dude. I was born with a couple of brain cells, and I'm not going to waste them reading your bullshit, okay? I will not read anything that a spammer writes. Period. Full stop. Ever. You want to make me read something? Write it in a super chat. Dude, I'm not ignoring anybody. The chat's going by super fucking quick. I literally cannot help it. I can't help it when the chat's going by this quick, dude. Things just go on as they go on. It just is what it is. You are choosing to separate yourself from God. There is no God. What I'm telling you is that the very idea of God is unpleasurable and disgusting just as a fantasy, and there is no sufficient evidence for it, so I see absolutely no reason to believe in it. It's neither... How is it the phrase to put it? I don't know if they're still in here, but maybe they can remind me if they are. God is neither desirable as a fantasy nor feasible as reality, something like that. Yeah, just saying that there is a God does not make a God suddenly appear. You realize that, right? Like, God doesn't suddenly exist because you say he exists. That's not how this works. Stating you think in reincarnation. Dude, that sentence was so fucking grammatically incorrect. Oh my god. Anyway, no, that's not a statement of faith, because I'm not saying that I believe that's what happens. What I said is that if something at all happens when you die, then it's probably something more similar to that. Sorry. It's probably something a lot more similar to reincarnation or some kind of form of it than it is to whatever weird bullshit the Christians are cooking up this day. So you just know everything? You know exactly what happens after death now? Did I say that? You guys are the ones claiming to know exactly what happens after death. I'm the one saying that I think that it's far more probable that there's some kind of other fucking afterlife going on, if indeed there's an after at all. Because the science says that there is no heaven, there is no reincarnation, there is no soul, there is no anything. There's just death and life and rebirth but it's kind of funny, right? Because in a weird sense, you kind of do get reincarnated, but not consciously, at least not as far as we know. But given that I also think it's entirely possible we live in a simulation, I don't necessarily think we do. I also don't think it's unlikely. I don't know how I feel about it, I guess, when it comes to the factuality of simulation theory. But I know it would make perfect sense. I can't poke any holes in it. But it's an inconsequential belief that doesn't change a whole lot, Fuck, I forgot where I was going with that, but whatever. No, that's not what I fucking said. If you replay the fucking stream, you'll see that what I said is that, if anything, I find it far more fucking probable that reincarnation or something like that exists. Don't fucking put words in my mouth. Don't rewrite what I fucking said into something that's more easy for you to argue against. That's not how it works around here, bud. It's not what we do around here. That's not how shit goes. The science is what is it? The science is insufficient to describe reality. I mean, that's the thing, is every day science advances just a little farther, and every year we get a little bit more understanding about how the world works. Fucking examples abound, like discovering background microwave radiation, I think it was. Discovering like fucking cosmic rays and the alignment of the Milky Way and the like its shape and everything, the distance of our planet to the sun, the fact that there is space between our planet and the sun, the shape of our planet, like the exact shape of our planet too. We don't just know that the Earth is a globe, we know that it's actually a spheroid. It's almost spherical, but not quite. The more information you add up like that, the less and less likely it seems that we don't know, By the way, make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button, there's another chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who can engage in the chat. So please hit that button if you haven't hit it already. And if you've been watching for this long, you're liking the content. Come on, be honest with yourself. Be honest with me. Be honest with everyone in chat, You're liking it. Okay, let's see here. Let's get that over here, if I can. Although that's going to be really close to the chair. So, put it back over there. There we go. Okay, put that right there. And now we can go find some sticks. I'm going to see if I can find some sticks back here. There were so many things we thought we could never know that we now do. Oh, hell yeah. Going all the way back, too. Going all the way back. I mean, It's one of the weird things about science fiction is that it's not 100%, but pretty much 9 times out of 10, I would say, when some doubter says, "Oh, pish posh, we will never do that. That's absurd." They are proven wrong, sometimes within their own decade, but that stick was not nearly as dry as I thought it was going to be. Okay, well, abandon that plan. I've got some other wood over here that I don't really know the story behind, but I'm going to use it. I'm sure enough going to use it. But yeah, even if you think about modern stuff, like, well, flight's a good example, I guess, honestly. For years, people said that flight was, like, simply out of reach, that it was pretty much, like, in the realm of fantasy, that it would never happen, we'd never figure that shit out. Too many miracles, right? Too many things would have to align for us to figure out how to fly. And then, the Wright brothers come along, and they introduce the world's first fucking airplane. And they fly it at Kitty Hawk, and now, 125 years later or so, we've got planes like the Boeing 747, the Airbus A350. We've got things like the Dreamliner and shit. I mean, technology has gone fucking berserk. And it's all pretty much been at the behest of constant research into these spaces. Constant research into these technologies. Constant fucking re-examination and re-examination and re-examination. I still don't believe in flight, but it feels like we are pushing our limits, and I'll die on that. Oh, shit. Well, I mean, I believe in flight because I be seeing planes up in the sky, you know? What? Like, you don't see the planes? You know, like, I see the planes. They're out there. Dude, I know flight has to be possible because I saw a helicopter taking off from a hospital with my own eyes. My personal morals are against flight. I'm anti-flight. Oh. Well, back in the day, you didn't believe in the moon landing, so I just figured, like, maybe you didn't even believe in the concept of it. I was like, oh, whatever. You know, I've heard Taylor say crazier things, so hell, who knows, you know? I was okay with it. I was like, well, whatever, you know? They didn't have the first flying vehicle. It was the first sustainable flight, but blimps and air balloons existed. Well, yeah, that's true. It was the first sustainable flight with a heavier than air aircraft, I think is the actual description, right? It was the first powered flight on a heavier than air aircraft. Like, they'd built gliders and shit before. They built some contraptions that you could, like, roll down a hill and do some flying in. But the Wright brothers craft was the first thing to take latent engine technology of the time, a big old fucking propeller, probably inspired by boat props, honestly. I haven't read about it that much. I am kind of curious, though. I really should look into that. I bet there's a good documentary out there, too, about the discovery of flight and the Wright brothers and everything. That would be really fucking interesting for me to watch, though, because I am fascinated by the invention of these early technologies, and these really fucking formative technologies too. I mean, it's not just that it's like early tech; it's that it's so fucking massively fundamental. Damn, smoke is intense. Porco Rosso? Who the fuck is Porco Rosso? Is this a Ligma? Oh, okay. Okay. Flight evolved in animals like a bunch of separate times, and sometimes animals stopped flying for a bit and redeveloped flight again. That's true. That's true. That's the story of birds, basically. Um, theropods, the theropods went through a stage of like they were fucking feathered for a long ass time, but then they went through a stage where they started to develop adaptations that made them better at gliding. This is my understanding, at least, of how it went. They started to develop adaptations that made them better to gliding and more suited to that, and eventually that led to kind of rudimentary flight muscles and things like that developing through natural selection. And eventually you get the progenitor of birds, which another fucking fascinating thing about the taxonomy of birds, right? This just goes to show you how fucking important ecology is, and allowing nature to take its course and preserving that as best we can. Every single bird on Earth, every single one, evolved from one lineage. Let that shit bake your noodle. Every single bird you see on planet Earth, from the parrot to the ostrich, evolved from one lineage. One single theropod lineage hundreds of millions of years ago. Or at least a couple of 100 million years ago. I'm sorry, Taylor. I have cut up way too many chickens to think that birds are not real anymore. I have been reminded of my roots, and birds are very real. And tasty, with a number of herbs and spices. Oh man, Taylor. Oh man, you would have loved dinner tonight, dude. Oh fuck. It's a dinner of mine you've had though, so at least there's that. Oh shit. Oh fucking $10. Thank you. No hate though, man. I hope you give a little space in your curiosity, open-mindedness, or whatnot, that there's a loving creator and he wants to have a relationship with you. I hope you find Jesus. God bless. Well, thank you for the really kind comment. That's genuinely appreciated, and thank you for the $9.99. That, of course, is deeply appreciated as well. I've experimented with Christianity in my adult life. It's just not for me. I mess around with the Christians and kind of make fun a little bit because I think there's a lot of hypocrisy going on in the modern church. I think there's a lot of rot in the modern church. But when it comes to individual Christians personally, I take a way less aggressive stance, at least than I used to. And, I'm not going to find that probably. I don't, like, here's the thing. I look at nature as kind of benevolent in a way because she gives us everything we need. She does, nature, um, like, if you take God out of the equation, what you're left with ultimately is nature. What you're left with ultimately is all of this. You can't see me right now because it's so dark, but what you're left with is all this stuff out here. The trees, the crickets, the frogs, the katydids, that's what you're left with. And Mother Nature is benevolent in the sense that every single fucking crop we eat derives from some kind of wild ancestor. Agriculture was a development, it was a technological development where we began to take some mastery, not mastery really, but it's where we began to exercise a degree of control and influence over what certain aspects of nature did. And nature gave us that ability, Um, but nature is also not fully benevolent because just as she giveth, so too does she taketh away. In a way, nature is like, in my opinion, the type of benevolent that I feel like a lot of Christians maybe are referencing when they talk about the kind and loving benevolent creator or whatever. Um, Nature takes away, nature gives, nature abides. It's kind of hard to describe. If it has motives at all, it's really hard to figure out what they are. Holy shit, got another one. Thank you oh my god, thank you so much, Kayla. 1999 for the frogs, dude. I appreciate you guys so much. You guys have been incredibly generous tonight. We were sitting at 41.96. Now, if we could make it to $50 tonight, that would be fucking swell. But we'll see. You guys have been so fucking generous tonight that I don't even want to pimp it that much. But we'll see. But I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And the frogs, they appreciate it too. It's against my morals to call a man a woman, so if you call that misgendering, so be it. I can't do otherwise. Well, that's the thing, is like, I would argue that if God didn't want trans people to exist and didn't want you to gender us correctly, then why did he make so many of us? Do you believe God made a mistake? No, you surely don't. Do you think I'm lying to you when I say that I genuinely, in my soul and heart, feel like I'm a woman? If so, why? Why? Why would I lie about that? It makes my life harder. It actively makes my life worse in some ways. Like, being out as trans is better than being closeted as trans, don't get me wrong. But being out as trans comes with a whole bag of bullshit that most people would not willingly sling over their shoulder. So what on earth makes you think I would lie about it? So if we can establish that you don't think God made a mistake and you don't think that I'm lying, that must mean that God made me with that makeup in my head. And that's assuming that there's a God at all. I mean, honestly. I don't think your values align with the chat. What are we going to do? Well, I mean, I don't want to ban him. I mean, he's been perfectly polite and kind and everything. He donated and everything. I don't want to ban him or get rid of him. So I hope that's not the implication. Like I always say about everybody else, people are allowed to be wrong. If Albert wants to be kind of backwards, in fact, like, let's just say it, real backwards on the whole, like, gendering me correctly issue, my fucking feelings on things like this are that, I allow him to, and here's my justification for that. Because I genuinely want the hatred against trans people to stop. I genuinely want people to start looking at us as human beings. But the first step to that is not pushing them away merely because they don't come to me the right way the first time or the first few times. I think and I don't place this on anybody else post. If you want to do differently, then please do. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm just explaining why I live mine the way I do. I genuinely hope with each person like Albert that chooses to stick around and listen to multiple ones of these, I hope that they start to see trans people as more human and eventually start to realize that God wouldn't want them misgendering us and hating on us, and that they personally shouldn't want to either, because there's no call for it. But that starts, in my opinion, with giving those people the space to be wrong. Not least of all because you don't know who feels that way unless they tell you. And they're not going to tell you if they think you're fucked up about it. God damn that smoke. Can't hardly breathe. 1 second, y'all. It's literally coming right at me. Ah, fuck. Ow. I'm gonna have to move these for a second. Literally all the smoke is going directly into my chair. There we go. You might think it's kind of strange to blow on a fire more in order to deal with the smoke problem, but actually, smoke is basically the leftovers from incomplete combustion. And so, if you help that combustion be more complete by introducing a richer oxygen supply, enough for things to catch more, you'll also clear up some passageways for air to flow. You'll get a more robust fire. That more robust fire will lend way more heat to its smoke. I know it's strange to think about fires having different levels of heat, but bear with me. The stronger the fire, the less smoke produced because there's less incomplete combustion, and because the smoke that is produced, and like the smoke's less annoying because the smoke that is produced dissipates more easily and floats away on a much more direct upwards kind of path. The Bible says don't follow your heart because it's deceitful. The heart is deceitful above all things, right? What if your heart tells you to love Jesus, Albert? The Bible also says everything has been made beautiful in its time. That includes me, you, and all of our pals. Aww, yeah. Taylor, there's something I have wanted to say to you for the last couple of years that I haven't been able to, and it's about this very thing. I'm sorry that I used to give you guys shit about this topic. I'm not nearly as aggressive about it as I used to be. I don't know that my opinions on it have changed all that much fundamentally, but I've realized that it's not really the best tact. And I also kind of realized that in a lot of ways it was really, I feel like it was something I used as a bludgeon on a lot of people. And I just feel like a kind of a dickhead about it because a lot of the people that I did that to didn't necessarily deserve it. I think doing it to random bigots in my chat is a damned far sight different than doing it to my friends. And I've always preferred your brand of Christianity to, and I don't even know if you still consider yourself a Christian, but I'm just saying, I have come to vastly prefer your particular brand of Christianity, or the brand I knew you to espouse, 5 or 6 years ago, to the kind of evangelical, like center right at best, actively alt-right at worst, kind of regressive tendency that seems to be growing in the Christian mainstream. I think that if we had more people with that kind of outlook and that kind of attitude towards Scripture, that there would probably be way less hypocrisy in the church. So So thank you for putting up, with all my bullshit throughout all those years, I guess. I have 3 gay family members, 2 men and 1 woman. I'm grateful to say my family still thinks what happened is wrong. I mean, I still think what happened is wrong. I'm not glad that Charlie Kirk went out the way he did. I'm not sad that he's gone, don't get me wrong. I'm not crying salty tears for the man. I mean, he wouldn't cry no salty tears if I disappeared. In fact, he probably would have laughed about it on his show. So let's not pull any punches here, okay? But I'm not happy about the way he went out, because if he can go out like that, so can I. We do the same thing for a living, or we did. I argue with people for a living. I make entertaining content where I'm arguing with other human beings. That's what I do for income. That's what Charlie Kirk did for income. We are united on that front, if nowhere else. And if it can happen to Charlie, it can probably happen to anybody, You're fine. I hate the Calvinists too. Yeah. See? Okay. Well, that makes me feel better. At least you knew that the ire was mostly directed to Kanoa and, Colin. Now, I don't know. Sometimes I think he might have gotten a kick out of it, honestly. I know Kanoa did. I think that was his name, wasn't it? I don't even remember. You know what it was, really? And it's like Calvinism is part of it, but there's an aspect to Calvinism that I got so, oh my God, I will never forget. I had like a 2-hour long argument with I think his name was Kanoa about fucking presuppositional apologetics. I had to look that term up and familiarize myself with those arguments thanks to that fucking bastard, because I literally argued for like 2 hours about the idea that, because basically the idea in presuppositionism is that everybody knows God is real. And if you're talking to an atheist, you're actually talking to a dirty, filthy liar that's just chosen to reject the obvious truth. And like, you cannot get past that with some people, because I don't like being presupposed about, I don't like when an argument is happening where there's like some kind of false presupposition that means my side of the argument is being completely misrepresented in the other person's mind. So it was really the presuppositionism that got to me the worst, but that's an aspect of Calvinism. And pretty much every other aspect you dig into is just as fucking grim as that one. Literally repellent fucking denomination of Christianity. I'll take a Methodist any day. I'd take a fucking Mormon. Talking about cakes and pies. Cakes and pies. Cakes and pies. Fuck, am I gonna have to refill this fire again? I guess I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to fire troll it. Fuck it. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna fire troll it real quick, and I'm gonna see if I can't jostle this fire into restarting instead of merely putting more wood on it, because at this point it's got enough wood. It should be combusting quite nicely. The fact that it's not means there's something wrong with my fire trolling, not with the fire itself. So let's give her, well, let's fucking, I'm gonna try and give everything some air here. So I'll show you guys what I'm doing, actually. That'll be interesting. Let's see here. Where's the light? Where's the fucking light? There it is. There we go. So I'm trying to give this some airflow to allow everything to catch nicely. Okay. Now I've got those two positioned where I want them to be. I just need to get this fucker positioned where I want it to be. Oh, look at that. Building this tower quite nicely. You stay right there. See, it's already starting to catch a little better. Ow, reposition a little bit. Ow, fuck. Reposition. Oh shit. I don't know what the fuck that was. There we go. Now that's catching quite nicely. So now if I find some nice wood to step by me, I might be okay for a minute. Okay. Wasn't that fun? By the way, I bought a 2019 UVU postcard with a bird's eye view of the campus area where it went down last week. What? Oh, dude, I'm so stoked for the meetup as well, dude. For realsy reals. Damn, all this wood is fucking rotten. Rotten as shit. That's my fault, though. I'm the one who stacked it here. I just wasn't thinking about it, I guess. Okay. Now, let's get everything set and moved. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Alrighty. Aw, thank you, Albert. Another fucking $9.99. What a kind thing. Anyways, good night, y'all. Especially you, Mr. Streamer. No matter what y'all think of God or any of the fairy tales, I hope y'all find true purpose in life. Love y'all and hope to see y'all in heaven. Right on. Well, thank you. Even if I take umbrage with your misgendering of me, I appreciate the $9.99 regardless. Thank you so much. That is very kind of you. Come back and donate again sometime. No, but seriously. Yeah, come back and see us. It's fun over here. We have lots of fun. We chill. We hang, you know. We do the cool things. We do the uncool things sometimes. It's the misgendering tax. Yeah, literally. If you're gonna misgender, at least pay me. Follow that guy's lead. If you're gonna misgender, at least pay me. It's the least you can do, really. Come gather round, people, wherever you're roam, and accept that the waters around you have grown, and soon you'll, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better swim fast or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changin'. Come, authors and poets who prophesy with your pen. Please heed the call, the chance won't come again. Fuck, I wish I could remember all the lyrics of that song, dude. I love that song. Yeah, here's money. Now take my microaggressions. Yeah, I mean, I'll take it, Post. I don't know about you, but I'll take it. Religious fan... Yeah, exactly. Glitch Dash understands. Dude, religious fanatic money spends just as good as fucking anything else does. Charlie, I'll never forget what you taught me. A dolphin and a human fetus are the same thing. Dude, I cannot believe that shit happened. That's what I mean when I say I'm sick to death of the right wing lionizing this guy, as if they all cared. Dude, I believe that a bunch of people on the right wing cared, but I don't believe that everybody on the right wing cared. That's stupid. That's just dumb. That shit's just dumb, bro. I still run into people who are on the left who don't exactly know who Bernie Sanders is, dude. People are fucking morons. And I refuse to believe that most of these people actually knew anything about him before. Maybe not most of them, but honestly, most of the people I think being vocal about this shit probably didn't know shit about Charlie Kirk 2 weeks ago. They probably very occasionally watched a Charlie Kirk clip or some shit like that. Maybe they knew his name or something like that, but these people did not fucking care about him to the degree that they're claiming. As evidence for that, I would point to the fact that Charlie Kirk was not in the fucking national conversation before this. He just wasn't. Did you get a chance to catch up on your Candace Owens lore? No, I did never get a chance. No. It took me years to realize that regular photos of Charlie's tiny face weren't photoshopped shitposts. The ones I love the best are where somebody takes his face and shrinks it even more, but only like 2% or something. And so it's almost impossible to tell. But yeah, he did have a very small face. Or did he have a really big head? She blames Israel for his death is pretty much the short version. Okay, so Taylor, here's the fucking thing. Here's the thing. Charlie Kirk was more critical of Israel in the last 2 months before he died than ever before in his career. Charlie Kirk has been well known as an Israeli simp for most of his career until this year. It was only in the wake of the massive fucking famine and starvation and bombing campaign going on in Palestine. It was only after almost 2 years of that going on that Charlie Kirk finally grew a conscience and started rejecting Israeli money, apparently, and started allowing more people with anti-Israeli viewpoints onto his podcast. Like, there's this idea, and I'm not saying you have this idea, I'm sure you're abridged and shit, but some people have this idea that the right wing is just universally pro-Israel, and it's just like, no, especially not like Groyper and Groyper adjacent types. There's all kinds of Groyper adjacent types, by the way, and they are almost always to the man anti-Israel. And there are people on the right wing who just don't like to see what's going on over there. Previously supportive of the idea, now they're questioning it because it just doesn't seem like Israel's doing responsible things with their ownership of that land. And Charlie Kirk was platforming more of those people in the last couple of weeks before his death, in the last couple of months, I should say. He was himself questioning things. Like, he was kind of talking about the theory that Jeffrey Epstein may have been like a Mossad agent, or may have been blackmailed by Mossad, maybe. We're talking real Israeli critic kind of shit. So I don't know that Candace Owens is completely batshit crazy on this one, Tay. I gotta be honest with you. It does seem like lately, anytime there is any type of fuckery afoot, it seems like the Zios aren't far away. Yeah, it took me a minute to process that, but yeah, that is one of the weird things you start noticing about American politics, especially, is that the more you look for Israeli involvement in American politics, the more of it you'll find. It's just one of those weird, dark secrets we don't talk a whole lot about, but it's kind of just like an open secret at this point that a significant amount of the American commentator space is paid off by either AIPAC or organizations that are secretly funded by AIPAC or by the Israeli government in general. There is a giant number of politicians to whom this is also true, or for whom this is also true, I should say. And when it comes to our defense budget, when it comes to our countrywide expenditures towards supporting Israel just as a thing, it's one of the most common arguments you'll hear brought up, and it's something you'll hear invoked a lot. And it's become so normalized to have Israeli politics deeply involved in American politics and have it so intertwined that we don't really think about it much anymore. But it's so fucking weird if you place it outside of that space. If you really start to think about what that means, there is a foreign country that we helped create that now has just as much influence over our government as the American people as a whole do. Mike Huckleboob is really the worst example. Is he? I don't think she is either. I'm scared to be in the timeline where I can say she's making complete sense to me. Dude, that's the thing, dude. Taylor, I have fucking felt the same exact way. It's one of those, like, the worst person you know actually has a good point kind of moments. Fuck, dude. Crazier things have happened. Dude, Taylor, do you know who Pat Robertson is? I'll give you another crazy example of this shit. Do you know who Pat Robertson is off the top of your head? No? Okay. He was a televangelist for years. Pretty famous televangelist guy, too. And incredibly right-wing, except when it came to civil rights issues. And the reason for that, as cynical though it may have been, was actually kind of noble, which is that he had a lot of black audience members. So he had financial incentive, I guess, but he remained that way. He was like an early proponent of civil rights back in like the early days of his career, and he, at least civil rights for black and brown people at the very least. And he was a big proponent of civil rights early on in his career, and I think he kind of always continued that, if for no other reason than because his audience was kind of like so, used to hearing him have those kind of takes. And so when the George Floyd incident happened, he was one of the only people on the right wing saying from the get-go that Derek Chauvin needed to be punished, that he needed to be permanently off the force, that he should probably be in prison for a long time. And he said something nobody on the right wing was saying, which is that police departments really need to get their shit in order, basically. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. His old ass wouldn't have said it like that. But, he said something like, these police got to get their act together, or otherwise the American people might start having something to say about this kind of thing. He said it in his weird old man way, but it's like the closest you got to any right-wing figure actually calling out what that was for a civil rights issue, which it was. So it happens every so often, dude. Sometimes the worst person you know is right. It's always a shitty feeling, but it does happen sometimes. AOC just destroyed a CEO with her questions. Oh god, am I reading Reddit? Oh shit. Oh no, dude. Oh fuck. See, Post, me and you are different kind of lefties. I ain't got no faith in fucking AOC. AOC's a fucking bought and paid for shill, too. The only reason she's roasting that CEO is because he ain't one of the ones who's giving her money. She don't give a fuck. If AOC gave a fuck, why is her name came up so seldom, in the last 2 weeks? Why is it all I'm hearing about is like the right wings, like encroach of fascism? Like I was hearing about the Stop Oligarchy tour for a while, but what fucking effect has that actually had? I don't even know what effect it's supposed to have, other than buttering people up for some kind of 2028 candidacy. Which I got to be fucking real with you guys. With the climate being what it is, I think, and I'm not kidding with this, I legitimately think we might be on the precipice of some kind of actual fascist takeover of our government. It might already be in place, basically. We might just be watching it come to fruition now. We might just be watching the flower bloom, so to speak. The flower. What a disgusting euphemism to use. I hate to compare the right wing to a flower. God. But you get the idea. This might just be the first signs of a way bigger fucking event. Or maybe, maybe it goes on largely unnoticed. I don't know. Maybe everybody will be talking about something else in 2 weeks, but I don't think so. I don't think so. You remember how long Kyle Rittenhouse was in the news, right? And this is a way bigger degree than that. Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. Thank you for clarifying, Post. I was worried there for a minute, because I've heard you shit talk the fucking DNC just as much as I have, and I was like, what? Where's this coming from? I was like, when did Post become a shit lib? What the fuck? No, I'm kidding. But, yeah, I have lost all faith in AOC, and it's sad to me because I had a lot of faith in her to begin with, but now, no. She's revealed herself to be way too interested in longevity with the Democratic Party and not getting major change done. She has allowed herself to be cowed by the DNC's fucking conversion line. I don't know what else to call it. There's this line the DNC gives every single one of their politicians, I think, which is, we all want change. I mean, we all want things to get better. That's a common tendency amongst Democrats. But you have to understand that stuff takes time, and the real key should be keeping you in office so that when those decisions come up, you can do the right thing. That's the line they give every fucking politician. And you know how I know that's the line they give every politician? Because that shit trickles down. That shit trickles down, bro. And I hear the same fucking argument out of shit libs arguing that we need to keep voting blue no matter who. Arguing that the lesser of two evils is a legitimate reason to continuously allow the Democratic Party to slip into even worse and worse irrelevancy, to pick even worse and worse candidates. After being betrayed by John Fetterman, I will never give one more single dollar to a political campaign. I still cannot believe I allowed that man to trick me. Don't feel bad, Glitch, dude. Don't feel too bad. A lot of people were fucking convinced by John Fetterman, dude. There were people from all over the country donating to that dude's political campaign because he seemed like a legit dude, He almost had, like, dumb Richard Ojeda energy. Like, Richard Ojeda, honestly, I think is, he's kind of sold out now, too, from what I understand. But at the time, I don't know, dude. Like, you can't trust nobody. That's the fucking problem. That's the fucking problem, is that you cannot trust a motherfucker that allies with the DNC. You just fucking can't. You can't trust them, dude. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Like, do you guys think there's a conspiracy afoot? Why is it that the DNC seems to turn everything it touches to stone? Why is that? Why is it that the DNC seems to turn every politician that gets within its orbit into a shitlib that takes corporate money, expects corporate money, in fact? Will we just accept a fascist state, or are things going to get interesting? I genuinely don't know, Riley. I really wish I had the answer for you. I fucking don't know. I can tell you what way I want things to go. I want things to get interesting. I don't want our country to just slip into fascism and us, accept it with a painfully passive sigh. I don't want us to do that, but I do fear that that's what would happen in this fucking current climate. Because people are fucking... God, dude, people are distracted as shit. And I can't even blame them because I do it too. I scroll. But I feel like people are, number one, distracted as fuck. And number two, and perhaps even more importantly, so maybe it should be number one, people are worked to the fucking bone now. Those of us who aren't worked to the bone are still busy with shit that we don't have the ability to just walk away from, I've got responsibilities I can't merely step away from, and I'm pretty sure the average American does too. She did a great job winning the last election, right? Yeah. Do you think they'll put up Kamala again in the next election? Yes, Taylor, I sure do. I wish I was wrong. I want to be wrong. I really do. Boy, do I want to be wrong. But yes, I'm pretty sure they will tap Kamala Harris. There's a whole hierarchy to the way the DNC picks things, and you can see it reflected in who gets the nod and who doesn't. Right? Now, the DNC won't accept electoral loss as a valid reason why not to run somebody, as evidenced by the fact that they ran Hillary Clinton multiple times. Well, they didn't. She did. She only got the nomination one time, but she has tentatively talked, she's talked tentatively about throwing her hat in the ring in the last two elections, and she had ran a campaign that did not end up winning the nomination back in 2008, I believe, or 2012, I'm not sure. I think it was 2008. But yeah, the DNC doesn't care if you're actually good at winning an election. What the DNC cares about is your cred within Washington. And when it comes to cred within Washington, Kamala Harris was the VP for 4 years. She's a fucking... In the DNC's mind, there's no better candidate. Now, I will tell you this much. They're probably going to do a primary in 2028. I guarantee you they don't fucking... If they coronate someone in 2028, I don't know that it'll be Kamala. I think that there's another contender on the horizon, another shitlib that we're going to have to contend with. One of the many reasons I've been advocating for an independent party or an independent movement or a third party or some shit like that. Some kind of alternative movement, because the fucking real danger, I think, of a 2028 candidacy from the DNC comes not necessarily from Kamala Harris, who I think will be put up if this other one decides not to run for some reason. But I think it's going to be Gavin Newsom. I think Gavin Newsom is going to be the DNC's next candidate. If he runs in 2028, he will be the DNC's candidate. If some kind of independent Bernie figure tries to ally themselves with the DNC, some kind of Zohran Mamdani kind of type, they are going to do the same fucking thing they did to Bernie, to that person. And honestly, after 4 years of Trump doing all the shit that he's doing, a bunch of people are probably going to accept it, and they'll probably vote that politician in. And the DNC will once again be reaffirmed in their belief that it doesn't matter how bad their candidate is, it doesn't matter how many of their campaign promises they walk back on. It doesn't even really matter what the fuck they say on the campaign trail, as long as they're not the other guy, TM. I was burned by Burning Glitch. We all been there. Yeah, I find Burning the most disappointing. I do too. It's because the DNC has stage 4 corporation cancer. That's 100% true. Yeah. Literally, the rot at the heart of the DNC is not. It's not really personal. Well, it is personal greed, but it's a fucking demon that takes advantage of personal greed wherever it finds it. And the DNC is not unique in having it, you know, be visited upon it. The DNC is just the last on a long list of American institutions that have been waylaid and more or less destroyed by corporatism in America. Hot take, I don't think there has been a fascist takeover. I think America is the same. It's always been, but affecting more people negatively. I don't know. I don't know, Post. I don't know, dude. Maybe you're right, but it's hard for me to think of another time in modern American history when freedom of speech has been so firmly under assault, when immigration has been such a fucking hardcore, we're going to arrest people in the streets kind of issue. You can point to times in America's history where any one of these issues might have been a problem, but I think it's hard for me to imagine another time in America's history where we were this particular combination of fucked up. And that is one of the things that leads me to the fascist takeover kind of theory, is because it's like, yeah, okay, we still have the right to technically say more or less what we want, but that has never been true in America. You know, like when it comes to like people in America have pretty much always been able to enjoy the freedom of speech and association and that kind of thing. Sure, it's been suppressed sometimes. I get that. This is not unique in America's history in that way. But you combine that, the firmness of it, the heat of the tension that exists right now. You combine that with the immigration crackdowns and the deployment of the National Guard to America's cities on basically like fucking scare the neighborhood missions. You combine that with Trump's isolationist policies, his braggadocio on the world stage, but his inability to come to any real deals with anybody. I don't know. Starting to look pretty fascist to me, my friend. Mind you, I'm not saying that means vote for the DNC just because we're fucking facing that kind of thing. What I think that means is vote for a fucking independent candidate. Vote to save us, not to prolong our fucking destruction. I think America is learning class consciousness in a mainstream way for the first time. That is what we are feeling and seeing. We are actually seeing things and experiencing things we only heard about in history class that we have been brainwashed into thinking were solved issues. Well, that's one way to look at it, I guess, yeah. I mean, people are definitely thinking more about stuff that, like, you're right on that. People are definitely thinking more, like, worldly in that way. you know, most people alive today have not lived through an assassination like that. Just most people living alive today just haven't done it. Not in the West anyway. I know there have been political assassinations in other countries and, less stable countries and shit like that. But as far as like Europe, America, Canada, even like fucking Mexico, I can't think of the last time there was a prominent Mexican politician that was fucking assassinated. Maybe I'm just not up to date on Mexican politics, but when it comes to most developed countries, these kind of things are very, 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 very rare. And they've become way more common in the last, excuse me, in the last year, I would say. It's become way more common, way more of an issue. Are people learning class consciousness, or are people just getting more pissed at each other? Because that's what I see. I see what you're saying, right? I see how that all makes sense logically. And I think that that's probably what people should be taking away from this, is realizing that capitalism has not solved these problems that it claims to have, and that when the capitalists are faced with the ineptitudes and the failings of their systems, they panic. They go to banning things. They go to freaking out. I agree that that's the interpretation somebody should take away from these events, but I don't know that that's actually the direction a lot of people are going. It seems like a lot of people on the right wing are just cloistering together. Yeah, there's some infighting going on, like there always was, but a lot of them are fucking, even feigning, in my opinion, giant support for Charlie Kirk. And yeah, I know a lot of that shit will probably die off, but still. Kirk is an excuse for a fascist state. I heard you say earlier that 9/11 was an excuse for a surveillance state. That's kind of what I'm worried about, Riley. Genuinely, that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried that Charlie Kirk is going to be used as an impetus for the Trump administration to crack way down on leftist speech and expression and, like, alternative people in general, probably. Anybody that could be construed as, like, somebody that's hating on fucking Charlie Kirk. Because apparently, you're just not allowed to do that anymore. Because he's a right-wing darling. The right wing was perfectly fine shitting on dead people back when it was back. Anytime it's liberals or leftists, the right is perfectly fine with shitting on dead people. But don't you shit on one of their fucking sacred cows. Don't you say a fucking like a single negative or bad word about their sacred cows, because they are ready to fucking dox you. They are ready to fucking try and get you locked up. These people are bloodthirsty. They're ravenous. Learning the wrong lesson is as American as apple pie. Well, I definitely agree there. Americans have a real penchant for getting an obvious lesson delivered to them in the form of an object lesson and just kind of ignoring it as if it doesn't really matter. It's been surreal watching them get people fired when they were so against that. I know, dude, it's been the most fucking, surreal is a great way to put it. But dude, it has been the most fucking frustrating fucking thing. I was literally yelling at these people earlier about it, about how stupid that is, about how they are literally engaging in the exact same fucking behavior that that they constantly accuse the left wing of engaging in. And I also, by the way, don't you just love how 2 weeks ago, conservatives would have told you that empathy is stupid, that you don't need to have empathy, that you should base all of your positions and the things you want and the policies you advocate for off of cold, hard facts and logic. Facts don't care about your feelings. And now, look at the right wing. Dude, they're all in their feelings. They are all making arguments against people's speech and their right to do so from an emotional standpoint. They are all of them engaging in all of the things that they've always made fun of us for. I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but shit is gonna get so much worse for a while. And we aren't gonna vote our way out of anything. Overall, good things are happening, but it's not gonna be pretty. I think we could post, but I'm not going to say we're likely to, but I do think Marx was right when he said that communism could be achieved in America through a vote. You know, I do believe in the capacity of America's democracy to handle something like that and to adjudicate it properly and everything. I just don't think it's that likely to happen. There's a lot of reasons why I don't think that's likely to happen. We could get into those, but that is what I want to happen. That's what I hope happens. That's what I'm trying to make happen with my little voice, you know, as best I can. Things won't get better until there are bread lines and people have nothing left to lose. But most Americans are really, really dumb, so that will be good enough. Yeah. And by that time, AI will make it impossible for people to organize. Trust me, mark my words, the change coming is not going to happen by a vote. What makes you so sure, though, Post? Like, what makes you so absolutely sure? Because this might be a fun thing for us to argue with a little bit. Or argue about, rather. I tend to agree, though, with Riley that things don't get better until they get worse. It's kind of like the old lady says in the never-ending story. It has to hurt for it to heal. Well, you say that, Riley, but I mean, the civil rights, many of the civil rights acts of the 1950s and 60s were achieved partly through voting. I mean, the people responsible for getting that legislation through were voted in at some point. Now, it also required a lot of protests and everything else, but that's what makes me wonder, right? Is the idea that, and you know, if you look at a country like Iceland, you know, Iceland managed to transform its government and the way that country was ran through voting. Now, once again, there were protest movements too, but I think that that's just endemic to any massive movement of people that's trying to get big change on anything legislatively. Tension is going to keep rising with every half-hearted victory handed to us. You'll see. Yeah, but that tension can go a lot of different directions, Post. That tension can go a lot of different directions, and sometimes class consciousness can be, what's the word I'm looking for? Subverted. Sometimes class consciousness can be subverted and turned into a weapon. I mean, that's one of the things Nazi Germany did, is framing the Jewish people as a whole as being the ones who were really in control of all their horrible wages and their stagnant wages and their marks not being worth anything and all that. They framed them as the elites and took advantage of the very much rightly deserved anti-elite kind of hatred going on. So, I don't know if it's necessarily good things happening, is all I'm saying. I've lived through so many presidential campaigns and wars, Phoebes. I get that, but you haven't lived through a fucking giant political assassination in the middle of fucking broad daylight, have you? Like I said, in a developed country. I get that it's probably happened in fucking the DRC or some shit, but I'm not talking about the DRC, I'm talking about us. You know? This is unique to both of us. Unless you can come up with a name that I can't come up with. Children have been blown up under our noses for our entire lives, and people get that now. More people are getting it. More people are getting it. I remain unconvinced that this change couldn't come with a vote, by the way. Like, why could you not, why could a sufficiently charismatic movement not take the tension that exists in the country and redirect it into completely changing the political system in this country via protest and vote? Like, who's to say that that tension, like, I see three outcomes to that kind of rising tension, because I agree with you when you say that the temperature is rising, tensions are getting higher, etc., etc. I agree with you there. But where I disagree is the idea that that inevitably leads to workers' revolution, where we end up with some kind of socialist America, or, you know, pseudo-socialist America, or whatever it ends up being. I'm not saying that that's necessarily what you're arguing, but it does seem to kind of be the implication. And I feel like there's really three outcomes that could come out of those rising tensions. One of them is, yes, that does sometimes happen. And in fact, it happens a lot of times. The richest people in a country allow it to get so fucking bad that people from within that country start revolting. Eventually, they start revolting against the whole fucking system and the very ideas that underlie it, and they replace their government with something better. That does happen sometimes. What also happens sometimes is a fascist takeover, where whatever the fascist party in any given country is able to completely take over, take complete control of the media and the narrative and the very idea of facts, every facet of life, and people give that over for a sense of security, for an idea of an end to the conflict, to an end of all the bloodshed. And I also think that sometimes that attention and energy gets redirected into a massive referendum and a massive protest movement. An example for that, you look at Iceland. Massive corruption scandal, massive banker fraud over there, and they fucking turned it on they turned it on its head with voting and protest. The vote has to be honored. You spent a lot of time in Missouri, so you know how little that matters to state government, much less federal. Yeah, I mean, that's true. The vote has to be honored for it to matter. I'm not saying that voting is the end all be all by any means, but I, I guess it's like, here's my fucking thing, right? The other alternative is something I don't know how I'm going to convince people to do it, because here's how I think we could also do it, and I'll throw it to you guys because I still advocate for it. I just don't ever think I'm going to be able to fucking restart the hippie movement, so I think it's pointless for me to advocate for it. But I'll tell you guys my idea. We could change this country for the better permanently, regardless of the administration, if we brought to bear 10 to 15 million people in Washington, D.C. and Wall Street, totally peacefully, taking up every single square inch of public space that we can, getting as close as the White House, close to the White House as we're legally allowed to, coming in such great numbers that they can't arrest all of us, that they have to let us stay there, that they have to let us be a nuisance to the lawmakers and the senators and the fucking legislatures and the lobbyists and all that shit that call Washington, D.C. home. We make it hell for them. We make it so that they cannot drive or get a ride from the White House or the halls of Congress to their residence without seeing a million messages about what we need right now as Americans. I think they would tolerate it for about a fucking week before they would be calling for Trump's resignation or demanding an impeachment and removal in order to get someone in there who will exercise the will of the people, or they would get Trump to acquiesce to the demands himself. I think that what Trump ultimately, number one, cares about more than anything is popularity, and I think that that kind of giant showing up would be kind of alarming to him. But even if I'm wrong, enough political pressure makes things happen regardless. Enough political pressure makes things happen regardless. But what this would take is 15 million people. 15 million people. And it's going to take more than that, actually. It's going to take like 30 million people, because you're going to need to account for at least 2 million of those people getting locked up, arrested, or otherwise disappeared every month until you get your demands. Might even be 1 million people a week. Who fucking knows? But they're going to be bringing out all the stops to stop that. But as long as people keep showing up, as long as they keep persisting, and if we're going to lose, if we're going to shed, if blood will be shed regardless, then I would prefer less blood be shed through some kind of peaceful civil disobedience like that. Especially because it's constitutionally protected. We can't technically, legally, be prosecuted for it. All we'd have to do, even if we did, you just wait for the next Democratic administration, fucking, plead for clemency or whatever. They'll grant it. They love PR shit like that. They love to pardon fucking prominent leftists. And that's the thing. The Democratic Party has become okay at PR, but that's all they do now. And that's why nobody likes them anymore. One of the reasons, anyway. Not the only reason. The fascists are quite scared right now, actually, That's not the read I get off of them. Well, you know what? Honestly, Post, you might be right. Because I wasn't thinking about something. Human beings are psychological animals. Highly psychological animals. And we're primates, too. We're fucking primates. Oh, there's a train coming. I can hear it. But we're primates, above all else. And maybe there's not, actually. Maybe that was just a semi. Anyway, point is, because we're primates, we've got these behavioral tendencies. And one of them is that aggression and fear are very similar responses. Like, fearing that one is in danger for their life often causes, like, the shock and runaway response. But slow kind of fear, like reserved kind of fear, that shit very much presents as aggression in most primates. I wasn't thinking about it, but you may be right, Post. May indeed be right. It's kind of like you said earlier. People won't do it because if they stop working for a week, they lose their homes. Yeah, I don't know. Did I say that? It probably wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't think people will do it though. Yeah, that's the thing. Is I agree with you, whether I said it or somebody else said it in chat. I don't think people will do it because people have got so much on the line, right? People have got so much on the line. It's one of the ways that that the government and corporations working in tandem. There's another fucking aspect of a fascist state, but because of that and how long it's been happening, they've managed to create a country where people effectively don't have the ability to do that anymore. I mean, back in the 60s and 70s, you could kind of afford to do all the shit that people were doing. I mean, if you worked a couple of summer jobs in a row, you could probably afford to have you some kind of vehicle, and most people probably did at the beginning of the hippie movement. It was pretty easy to go to a fucking dealership and trade in the car you've been maintaining and everything for some kind of old beater van that nobody likes anyway. And maybe even get a couple of $100 cash out of it. Now you've got gas money to get out to DC. Nobody's expecting you to help out with the bills while you're gone or anything like that, because bills are so fucking low that as long as your family's not completely broke dick, they're fine. And if they are completely broke dick, they're gonna be fine, because America just used to be built different when it came to that kind of shit. Less people were left out in the cold because they couldn't afford shit in that era. Economic stability was way more of a thing, and that's just not the case anymore. People stop working for a week. I mean, everyone in my household, including me, makes income, and we still struggle, still heavily, to make ends meet and to fucking pay for everything. Because groceries have gone up probably, it's got to be 200%, dude. In the last 10 years, I wouldn't be shocked if groceries have gone up 200%. I would not be shocked if somebody told me that. Beef has gotten expensive as hell. Pork is even getting kind of high. Chicken is still kind of affordable. It's almost the only affordable meat left, pretty much. Bacon has become just stupid fucking high. Any kind of nice cut of beef, forget about it. Unless you got $100 to drop. If you got a family of 5, you're gonna fucking be dropping $100 if you want to feed your family a nice steak dinner. Even if you're fucking cooking it yourself. The only way you're not going to do that is if you can afford to drop $250 at once and get you like an entire New York strip and have it cut at a butcher shop. In that case, you can actually save some money, get an okay deal, but most people ain't got that kind of money to drop all at once. Like, yeah, if you're willing to buy, basically this whole fucking strip off a cow, they're happy to sell it at a discounted price usually. But do you have that kind of dough? Most people don't. I'm not saying like a New York strip would necessarily end up being $250. I think it would depend on the fucking butcher. Might be way less, might be way more. I don't know. I haven't priced it, but just make it a base estimation. You get my idea. $200 in 2019 fed me, my ex, and a dog for 2 weeks. That same $200 now feeds me for 1 week, only me. Oh, I 100% believe it. Because the value of shit has gone way the value of shit has gone way down, and the fucking price of shit has gone way the fuck up. So while people are paying a lot more money for the shit that they have, it's actually worth less, and it's doing way less for them. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if groceries have gone up 200%. It would not shock me at all. Because I've got the same kind of, I'm sure everybody our age and everybody in our class structure does. Like, fucking, well, okay, here's a great example. Back when, I don't know if she's still in the chat, but back when I was, me and Taylor were living together and shit, fucking like 6 years ago now, crazy to think about. It was like half a decade ago, though, pre-pandemic and all that. And I would say that if I bought groceries and I was like conservative with it, I would say $200 would feed us for 2 weeks, probably. I don't know. She can back that up. Maybe I'm misestimating that or underestimating that or something. But I'm thinking that if I bought groceries conservatively, I could get $200 or, to stretch like pretty fucking easily. I think Taylor was pretty good at that too. I don't remember grocery shopping with her as much though. I know we did it a bunch, especially when I first moved up there. But I don't have as much recollection about who was doing the particular choices to buy what. But I've gone on so many fucking grocery trips in my life that I just like assume usually. So whatever. That's just a weird way my brain works. But yeah, it would not shock me though if she comes back on and says, yeah, $200 would easily feed us all for 2 weeks. I mean, as long as we're not eating anything fancy. And now, like you said, $200 might feed me personally for a week or two, maybe 2, because I still know how to buy conservatively and shit, and I still know how to get shit and portion it out so that I've got enough. I know how to do good portion control and food prep, so I could probably get $200. Like in the state I live in, I could probably get it to stretch 2 weeks for one person. Maybe even a week and a half for 2 people. But at a third person, that's going to last a week, if that, maybe even less. In 2018, the 3 of us barely worked and spent crazy money on stupid shit and had everything we needed. That's true, Taylor. I wasn't even thinking about it like that, but you're fucking right. You're fucking right. So, yeah, since you're here anyway, I'll just tell them a little bit about what our living situation was like, dude. All 3 of us, so it was me, Taylor, and a roommate we had who, this isn't even her birth name, so I'll just call her by her nickname. Her name was Cass. And it was me, Taylor, and this girl named Cass, and we all worked at Sonic. Sonic is not some kind of fucking luxe job, in case you've never worked at a Sonic. Pays minimum wage, plus tips if you're a car hop. And I can't remember if there were any kind of distributed tips for the back of house. I don't think there was. I would sneak some food, though. And we all worked at Sonic. None of us had a side gig or any kind of other kind of thing. And like Taylor just said, we would spend stupid amounts of money on dumb shit. Like fucking getting all of us pizza for the hell of it and getting real stoned and fucking laughing at the TV. Or like fucking a new TV for the living room because, like, you know, we got the money. It's like it was like on a lark. We needed a new TV for the living room. You know, we had a tiny little monitor set up in there, but you know, it was kind of like on a lark, and we were able to do that because our rent was like $450 a month, I think, and split between 3 people. That only amounted to like $175 a piece, I think. Yeah, probably something. I think the actual number amounts to something different. I don't fucking pretend to remember the intimate details. Anyway, so, but split between the 3 of us was less than $200 a month for rent from each of us, which was incredibly easy. You know, we were probably going to make at least $200 a week if we were getting decent hours, and at least $200 every 2 weeks if we weren't. And between the 3 of us, buying groceries and shit was like, I don't know, dude. Like, there in the beginning, we were honestly, to give us plenty of money for our stupid shit budget, we were kind of eating kind of lean at some points, you know, but we just weren't prioritizing it very high. We just weren't putting like a huge degree of priority on it. Aw, thank you, Frey, for dropping by with another $2. I appreciate it always. Thank you so much. Sonic is reputationally known for being slow. It's literally part of their tradition. Drive through 20 minutes, wait time, minimum, no matter what you ordered. Yeah, I mean, that's, I don't, see, I was never, like, told to not rush or anything. Like, they were usually on us about speed, but not as hard as some places I've worked. Like, Taco Bell is on your ass about speed. They want you to be fucking quick with that shit. Like, I had to learn how to get really, like, one of the reasons why I can talk as fast as I can now is because I had to get really fucking, like, I had to get really used to the idea of talking super fast in order to be, like, a good customer service person, and have a good customer service personality, and still get out funny little quips and things like that, and little commentaries on people's lives and things like that, without taking too much time in the drive-thru. So I had to learn to be able to say some, like, crazy complex shit in, like, 30 seconds, because that was all the time I was going to have with a person, you know? So back when my audience was just the people in the window at Taco Bell, I fucking, oh man, I learned how to put on a real quick show. Real quick. Because unless there's some problem in the kitchen, it's pretty much just like Taco Bell is one of those places that's got it fucking mastered. A lot of people, I'll let you guys into a little secret about Taco Bell, because I never signed no NDA or no shit like that, as far as I know. So when you start ordering at Taco Bell, this is one of the reasons why sometimes Taco Bell people will kind of act annoyed whenever you change up your order midstream. Keep this in mind. It'll help explain it and allay that. So when you start making your order at Taco Bell, when you start telling the speaker your order, literally, somebody starts your order when you start saying it, usually, unless there's something going on, like I said. But usually, whoever is on the end of the line is waiting for whatever the latest order is, and they start getting shit ready literally the second you start saying what you want in clear language. So if you say you want, a number 1 crunchy or whatever it is, I think it's a number 1. Yeah, if you say you want a number 1 crunchy, before you've even finished your order, there are already 3 taco shells laid out on the rail with beef in them, being slid down to the next person on the line to have the toppings added. And as you're pulling up to the window, those are getting wrapped up and bagged, and as you're paying, it's being slid over to the person taking the orders, who slides it over to usually me if I was there, the person working the window, who then hands it to you along with your card. That's how it should go when you go to a Taco Bell. That's how fucking fast shit runs there. And that's why it runs so fast, is because they literally start making your order as you start saying it. Same at Sonic, remember? You call out the burgers, chicken as you take the order. Yeah, no, I know. But it's like, I feel like it's a little bit different though, just because like there's a cook time on the burgers or chicken or like mozzarella sticks or whatever, you know, what have you. I remember that aspect, yeah. There's still like that's what I'm saying, is speed is prioritized there, but it's not as highly prioritized as some places. Plus, I mean, if I remember correctly, the menu board would display the order as it was being made. But I might be getting that confused with Taco Bell. I know it did that at Taco Bell, but I can't remember if the one at Sonic would display the order as it was being written up, or if it just displayed it once you guys sent it through. But yeah, dude, I gotta tell you guys, there's some fucking wild stories from that time. I think I've already told you guys the story of Brian, which he's got such a fucking vague name that I'm not afraid to say it because I don't feel like he could be tracked down or whatever, you know. I don't even remember his last name, but dude, I've already told you guys the story of Brian, and he was a Sonic story. He was a fucking Phoebes, Taylor, and Cass are all working at Sonic era character in my life. He works for Habitat for Humanity now? Well, good. That's dope. Good for Brian. Do you know if he's still drinking? Not that it's my business, I guess, but he was bad there for a while, man. I thought he was going to get liver failure or some shit when he was living with us. Yeah. That Brian. Oh, shit, dude. Oh, well, I'm happy for the other Brian. The cool Brian. I'm happy for cool Brian, because cool Brian was such a cool cat. I thought me and him weren't getting along at first, but once I figured out that he's just got like a very deadpan sense of humor, you know, kind of like a wry smile, wink and a nod kind of thing. Oh, man. Me and him just got on like fucking peas and carrots. We'd have long-ass conversations, too. I think that motherfucker liked picking my brain. I miss that Brian. That Brian. I do not miss the Brian that I'm thinking about. I can't believe that fucker even existed as I like, dude, to this day I think about that shit, and that it I told my chat and evidently they believe me, but I don't see how, because it sounds like some bullshit. Like you partied with your fucking manager, smoked weed with him and drank with him and shit, listened to sad music with him and shit, ended up living with him, and like witnessed him at his worst, and like watched him destroy his life, basically. What did you tell them? Well, I mean, you know, the basics. I don't know. Like, I'll tell you the story basically as I told it to them. So, now this was before you had started interacting in the chat, so I gave you a fake name. I just went with Cass's nickname because, like I said, it's just so untraceable. You know, it's like not something you would like automatically track to her. I don't think. You know, but you know, basically the story as I told it was like I used to live with these two other people. We all worked at Sonic, and we worked with this general manager who I thought was kind of like gruff at first and kind of detached, but they had a good rapport with them, and we started to become more friendly and everything. And eventually, he started, like, somebody invited him to the house. I don't remember who, but he started coming over and hanging out with us. And we were already kind of like party animals anyway, but it was super weird partying with your general manager. And that would be a pretty cool story if that's where it ended, but that's not where it ended up ending, dude. It just continued and continued. I think eventually, uh, one of my roommates, Cass, ended up, like fucking him. I think. Uh, he ended up living with us for a while and then getting kicked out. I don't even remember why he got kicked out. I just remember him becoming like increasingly more addicted to booze and like eventually having like a bunch of attendance issues with his job and being like transferred somewhere to another town. And that was the last I heard of Brian. Alcoholism and a veteran, very surprising. Oh, dude, I didn't even know he was a vet. I didn't even know he was a fucking vet, dude. That makes me feel kind of man, I'm a cunt. I guess it's kind of wrong to make fun of alcoholics in general, honestly, but on the other hand, I've always been known for my edgy sense of humor. Why stop now, right? Oh shit, we're at 1%, y'all. We're literally about to. We want Spinny. Get off the stage. I'm sure you do. You're stuck with me. No, you're about to have Spinny back because ass is sleepy. High post. You're so clever. Yeah, no, my battery, yeah. Battery died. That's what I was trying to say. My power lost, went out, battery, no good. Battery died. Had to come in here to charge it up. I made dinner tonight and it was really good. It was fried chicken, mashed potatoes, gravy, and green beans. And that shit was delicious. Boy, am I tired now. Trying to break through. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, refresh your screen if you haven't already. Fuck, what am I doing up this late, dude? I need to go to bed. I'm gonna go ahead and get off here, y'all. I'm too tired. Thank you guys for hanging out, though. Oh, Neuroseancer, you just arrived. I guess I have to stay for a minute more now that Neuroseancer is here. I guess I've got to stay for at least another 5 minutes. So, what's on your mind, Neuroseancer? fucking... I'm burning the candle at both ends. I wish I could do better. It's just the bar with my coworkers. Now I'm home rolling a J before bed. That is the best. That's the best. My natural bedtime is 2 hours after dawn. I have that firewatcher gene. Yeah. I think I've got the firewatcher gene too, or at least a partial expression of it, because left to my own devices, I would probably sleep from like 6 to 12, probably. 6 to noon or 1. Kind of disappointed that one of the dudes at work I thought was cool acted kind of inappropriate with my friend and low-key buzzkilled her at night. Aw, that's fucked up, Neurosancor, dude. I hate it when that shit happens. When you think somebody's doing okay and they're fucking fine, you find out they're a weirdo, or that they're fucking too socially awkward to not be a weirdo sometimes. God, that shit's fucking cringe. I'm sorry you had to deal with that, bud. That sucks. And yeah, I'm tired as a motherfucker. I'm literally so fucking sleepy. It ain't even funny. Dude, I was rewatching the fucking Alchemist Soil versus Paul argument, and that shit was fucking hilarious. God, there's some funny moments in that shit. My city is trying to ban nightlife past 2 a.m. right now. Oh, man. What are they trying to do? Destroy the city? Kill the downtown? Dude, I hate that shit. So many cities have policies like that, too. Like, dude, if you're in a city that doesn't, that shit should be protected by all costs. Cities that let their fucking citizens have a life past 2 in the morning are fucking great. Dude, I dream, and I think that this probably already exists in Vegas, but maybe not. I dream of a city that is actually 24-hour friendly. Fucking 24-hour bowling alleys, or late night bowling alleys, late night coffee shops, overnight coffee shops, and donut shops and shit. I honestly sometimes I think it would be really nice to live like within an hour of a city like that if I had my choice. Trying to think of cities that I think come close. If you've got the run of it, you can kind of get that out of St. Louis, but you really got to know what you're doing. You got to really know how to get around. And even then, you're going to run into a lot of places that aren't open 24 hours a day. Yeah, so, fuck. Thinking of some more places. Kansas City's kind of like that. Kansas City's kind of a city that never sleeps, but less so than St. Louis, I'd say. Springfield wants to be, but it's not. Cape Girardeau also wants to be, but they're not either. So that's the cities of Missouri that I think would be worth bringing up on the docket. I really don't know about Columbia. I've never been there late at night, but I know Kansas City is somewhat late night compatible, and I know St. Louis is somewhat late night compatible. As far as other cities I've visited, though, throughout my life, probably the most overnight friendly city I've ever been to is Boulder, Colorado. If I just had to, if I just had to throw a guess out there, because Boulder was incredibly nightlife friendly, incredibly friendly to like the idea of people being up all night. Basically, everything is open 24 hours in New York. That's nice, dude. I gotta go to New York City. Here in Victoria, bars close at 12, nightclubs at 2 a.m. Honestly, lame as fuck. Yeah, that's lame. Vegas is probably the smallest 24-hour U.S. city. Nice. Well, it's good to know that Vegas is a 24-hour city. I mean, I've heard Vegas described that way before, so it's good that tracks. I never actually got to go through LA. Is LA kind of a 24-hour city? Just guessing, I would assume so, but I don't know. I'm assuming that LA and NYC are kind of 24 hours, but when I say I want a city like that, really I don't want a city like that. I would love to find some kind of smaller sized city or large town or something like that that's kind of like that. Like something the size of Columbia or smaller, honestly, would be great for me. Because I don't want to have to deal with the fucking crazy traffic of cities, nor do I really want to have to deal with their crazy downtown areas. You know, at least in Columbia, the parking is very fucking clear and well demarcated. And sure, it fucking costs some money, but whatever. Just carry some change on you. Hell, they probably got them switched over to electric models now. They're probably fucking, I mean, they're always electric, but you know what I mean. They're probably digital now. Vegas felt sort of 24-hour to me, but I don't know if I'd live there. You can't even enter a gas station past 12 in LA. They're open, but you can't go in. It's so weird. I just pissed in the ocean. What the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. I guess the idea being that crime would happen? I don't know. Just pissed in the ocean. Well, what else are you gonna do if that, like, fuck, that's your only option? Fuck. What are you gonna do if that's your only option? Anyway, no. I don't know. Fuck. I want to keep troubleshooting, not troubleshooting, but I want to keep brainstorming. What a weird couple of words to get mistaken for one another. Anyway, I want to keep brainstorming smaller cities that still meet the fucking guideline. LA is sort of 24 hours, but not really. The clubs can stay open pretty late, but a lot of stuff closes down at regular hours. That's really weird to me. You can find random food trucks out late. Oh, well, that's good. Doesn't most life piss in the ocean? I mean, yes. By weight, yes. Why do you think the ocean's so salty, man? Sorry, I just got like lost. I was trying to remember the fucking lyrics to a Rammstein song. Und der Haifisch, der hat Tränen und die laufen vom Gesicht. Doch der Haifisch lebt im Wasser, so die Tränen sieht man nicht. In der Tiefe ist es einsam und so laufen. What's the next line? I can't remember. What? Your best bet might be a town just outside a big city. Yeah, probably. Memphis seemed to be pretty alive very late. People go home, you're drunk. I'm really drunk. I'm not drunk, but I'm really sleepy. When I go out at night and not late, my Uber driver will ask, headed home? If that details usual nightlife. Oh, okay, nice. You're a Berliner? Nice. Ich bin vom Cellus. Doch, was ist deine Lieblingsberg? Wo ist dein Respekt von meiner großen Kraft? I've been doing a little bit of German on Duolingo, but I've always been fascinated by the language, so I picked up a little bit of it. As far as I know, wo ist deine Lieblings was ist deine Lieblingsberg would be what is your favorite town? The last thing I said, wo ist mein Respekt von meiner großen Kraft would mean where is the respect for my great work? I need some sleep. It can't go on like this. I tried counting sheep, but there's one I always miss. I need some sleep. Time to put the old horse down. I'm in too deep, and the wheels keep spinning. That's got to be lyrics. That's got to be lyrics. I just read out a whole thing of lyrics, deadpan. All right. Don't choke. I ain't choking, bitch. I'm fine. We're gonna work like 1.5 hour, 2.5 hour nights. French is more my thing. Spanish is my native language, but I know a couple of German words like Scheiße. I think that's just shit, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know any French. Parlez-vous français? Parlez-vous français? I think that's how you say. Do you speak French? Parlez-vous français? Français? François? I don't know how you pronounce it. See, I could never speak French. I know a little bit of Spanish. I've been trying to learn that on Duolingo too. Parlez-vous français? Bienvenue. Bonjour. Oui. No. Oh, I actually got it right? Nice. 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 See, I got this shit. I know me some shit. Ooh, here's one. Here's an exotic one, dude. Arigato. I'm Venezuelan, which is why Spanish is my native language. Is Venezuela as fucked up a country as everybody makes it out to be, or is it just like overblown? I've always wanted to ask a Venezuelan this, but I've never known any Venezuelans. Interesting time to live in the U.S. Is that what they call it? That's an interesting use of euphemism. I would say it's a fucking batshit bonkers hog wild time to live in the U.S., my friend. I would say it's a fucking nonsensical time to live in the U.S. Dude, he's so aggro. Fucking not fucking abiding by the vibe at all. I'm gonna let them squirm for a bit. That's fine with me. I mean, we're gonna be getting off here in a few minutes anyway, so that's fine with me. You know they can't resist. Even if you ban them, they'll fucking keep watching. They love the attention. Yeah, it's in really bad shape right now. I left in 2015. It's only gotten worse. And in the 90s, it was a lot better. But things went downhill after Chavez. Do you mean after Chavez came to power or after he was out of power? Because I hear Hugo Chavez kind of like lionized in leftist spaces sometimes. And I've always wanted to ask somebody, like, what about that, you know? Shit started going downhill quick a few years before he died. I got you. Well, let me ask you another question. How much do you think U.S. involvement played a part? Because that's another narrative you'll find a lot on leftist spaces. But once again, I've always wanted to ask somebody from Venezuela, like somebody that actually has experience with it. Do you think it had much to do with American suppression, or do you think it was like rot from within? Fuck. I don't know what to say. I'm at the fucking point in the stream where I'm so fucking tired I don't even know what to say. But I've been streaming for almost 3 hours. I really do need to get off here. He became much more authoritarian over time. Well, that's something I was reading about him on Wikipedia when I was like, trying to inform myself as best I can. Is that like early on marked by a lot of progress and a lot of improvement, and later on pretty authoritarian, pretty resistant to letting the old guard transition to the new guard, pretty resistant to the idea of Venezuela becoming like less like he envisioned it, like he started a movement that I think he, like, from what I could tell, it seemed like he started a movement that, and it seems like a lot of like leftist revolutionary types that end up like leading a whole movement do this. It's like he started a movement that fomented a whole lot of other movements, and some of them were even in partial or like heavy agreement with like fundamentals of whatever they originated from. But once those factions begin gaining enough power to actually have a voice, it's like it represents a change from the way that person thinks it ought to be done, because they think that they've achieved the perfect system and that it can't be improved upon. It's just fucking ego, dude. It's one of the reasons why I think that these big societal changes that I want to have happen, the big like socialist utopia that I want to see happen, I think that it has to be achieved through some kind of framework of governance through the people, by the people, of the people, to not only evolve, but to continue to evolve. In the first campaign, he promised never to go after the media who was critical of him. He eventually expropriated and closed down all TV channels that were critical of him. It's weird, but Trump reminds me of Chavez, a demagogue bamboozling his base. He was never your friend. Oh boy. Well, that's a pretty stunning indictment. I really appreciate you sharing your perspective with me on that, because I wouldn't have known otherwise. I wouldn't have known that that's like the perception, because fuck, yeah. I never would have made the comparison either, but I guess it does make sense. It does make sense, just coming at it from two different sides of the political aisle. Just once again goes to show you that the problem sometimes is just demagoguery. Demagoguery is something that has to be escaped or channeled in a very specific way, at the very least, in order for us to get any real progress in this country, let alone any other country. Because as long as it's left up to the whims of one person, that one person can choose to fuck everybody over at any moment. Yeah. It's never a good look to turn on the media that's critical of you either. It's never a good look to be out there actively campaigning against the people who are just like talking shit on you, you know? Like as a giant public political figure. I think it's one thing if you're like doing it for clout on YouTube or fucking whatever. If you're like in that space and that's part of like your income, then it's one thing. But if you're like a major political figure, probably for the best not to. Exactly. He created a very similar cult of personality around himself, which endures now over a decade after his death. Yeah. No, literally, he really did, because like they're like to this day, there are still people that will defend Chavez. I've seen them. I've talked to them. Of course, all they bring up are the early reforms, you know, the nationalization of the oil and shit. Isn't it weird, neuroseancer, how shit changes like that? Is it not fucking weird as fucking hell that the narrative just shifts like that over time? How things can become so different, how information can become so distorted, purposefully and accidentally. I mean, there are going to be so many people that remember Trump fondly for decades. He's going to have his fucking defenders. Long after his mode of politics have come and gone. In fact, you know what? If some kind of socialist utopia were to erupt in the aftermath of his presidency, you know, and like a giant rejection of everything he is, we get some fucking crazy progressive, ultra progressive to office, and they end up changing everything, dude. I bet the history books, at least some of them, and some people's recollection would have it that, oh, well, Trump orchestrated it that way. He wanted to show people, really, for real, the corruption of the system and just how bad things could get if they didn't take the power back and break this two-party system. Dude, people are going to come up with all kinds of cope to explain that shit if it were to happen. I'm not saying it's gonna. I'm saying if it were to happen, dude, cults of personality are not about relaying fact accurately. It's about spin and worship and adoration. And so ultimately it's about spin. The Maduro regime is little more than a zombie version of the Chavez regime. That's what I've heard. Yeah, it blows my mind how things get distorted and mythologized over time. Reminds me of Dune, kind of. I think, well, that's one of the reasons why I think that novel and that property is so fucking prescient, probably, is because um, it like very accurately describes the human condition, not just in that way, but in that way as well. And it's funny, you know, Frank Herbert was touching in the 50s on something that we're observing now in 2025, independently of thinking about that work or anything. So we're just sitting here thinking about it. And, you know, people were thinking about it 75 years ago. You know, they were probably thinking about it 150 years ago. And yet we don't really seem to, we never learn our lesson. That's one of those weird, I almost think it's like just a human behavioral trait or something like that. Like something we're never going to quite get over. Like we'll always deal with it. Because we don't ever seem to learn our lesson about not running the fucking presses before we have all the details, not spreading rumors, not creating weird explanations. History gets, or not romanticizing too. History gets romanticized usually because psychologically we are programmed to avoid uncomfortable memories. I've made this point before, post, and that's actually a really good point to bring up. I don't know if you've ever been in here for my nostalgia is bullshit rant, but it's basically this: nostalgia is fucking horseshit. Because if you actually think about some of the shit you have nostalgia for, you will probably come up with some shit that, when you first think about it, it's going to seem positive because that's what nostalgia does. Fucking
Douchebag nostalgia takes the worst times of your life and gives you things to look back on with gratitude. Or at least with some kind of like weird, somber, yeah, that was kind of cool. Or that was a time, whatever. Like, it's got this positive connotation, but I think a lot of times, if you actually drill down into what people are nostalgic for, a lot of times you find pretty tragic, awful situations. I'll never forget the moment my partner realized that they had one of these going on, that they had some situation that they'd been in that they kind of romanticized and had nostalgia for. But then we started really talking about it, and we were both on mushrooms too. We started really talking about it and talking about it more. Eventually, we got sick of being in the car. We got out. A train was starting to pass by. We've been talking about it now for like 45 minutes at that point, just about how, like, they had so much nostalgia for that era in so many ways, but I pointed out all the ways that it actually sucked, which maybe that was an asshole thing of me to do, but they were also kind of talking about how, because the way it got brought up was they were talking about how they didn't feel like they had as much a right to feel like they had gone through that much compared to me, and they started talking about how, like, well, I'm kind of nostalgic for um, these kind of times, and they started describing some of the time they spent as a kid living in a homeless shelter. And we just went down the line. And eventually we had this moment I'll never forget in my entire life. We were standing out in front of the cars on our driveway, which has like a direct view of the train tracks and oncoming trains that are going westbound. And there's a train passing by, and they kind of touched on this moment that was just really hard and really hard for them to talk about, and I could tell. And they were like, they had so many dogs, and they weren't clean. This was when they were moving into somebody else's place for a while after the homeless shelter, but it was a even worse situation. They're like, they had so many dogs, so many piles of crap, so much pee. It stank so bad. They had way too many dogs. It was horrible. And the way they said it was horrible struck me like that train that was passing by. It was like they had realized for the first time in their life that what they went through was fucked up. Thanks for sticking around for a bit, by the way. Oh, of course. Thank you, Neuroseancer, for the $5. I appreciate it a whole lot. But yeah, I mean, I'm always down for a couple more minutes of conversation. It's not real, and it explains the instinct to try and forget trauma and create enjoyable memories. Nostalgia is an industry. It's for the purposes of marketing. It's not real. Well, I mean, it is real, though. It is real. It is an actual emotional phenomenon, Post. You might not feel it, but a lot of people do. I am one of those people. I'm very susceptible. But I will get nostalgic without any kind of marketing related stimulus. I'll just think about some memory from my past and start romanticizing that time in my life. But I think it's like you said, it's like a psychological phenomenon. You're basically, um, your brain is manipulating you into looking back on something better than you would otherwise by reframing it as actually that was an overall positive experience. And it actually makes it difficult. It's such a powerful emotional force that it actually makes you difficult to discern sometimes what was and wasn't positive. It's almost like you have to think critically about it every time you do think, have a little bit of nostalgia for it, right? You kind of have to be critical of it. Alrighty, well, I am going to go ahead and go. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. We made almost 60 fucking dollars tonight, so I appreciate that immensely. You guys are super kind for that. Yeah. Make sure you hit that bell if you haven't done that already. Hit the like button if you haven't done that already. And yeah, good night, everybody.